So in the movie, the Kingsman and the Statesman have to work together to fight against the Poppy and her terrible threat. What I'm asking you is this: can we read this as an allegory, or maybe also a criticism to the modern political situation in many countries, where many political leaders think that, okay, we are better off alone, we do not want to work in team, I don't care about other people's troubles and so on.
Well, I like the analogy you're finding because I sympathize with that concern. I don't believe isolation leads anywhere. Ever. I think we've seen that historically over and over again, and I think that it's a perilous situation at the moment, the instinct to pull up the drawbridge. I don't know if this film is really saying that. Even if I thought it were, I would only be able to say help yourself. I think that to create a good story, to send out some sort of messages, even if it's dog whistle or subliminal messages, you shouldn't sit in an interview and tell people what to look for, you know. But I do not object to that possible interpretation.
I think it's a shame. You know, I think that it's a shame because I do feel like there was a moment in our history globally where people were saying we're stronger together, and I think that we always are stronger together. And I think, you know, Ai Weiwei had a movie at the Venice Film Festival. Were you there at the Venice Film Festival?
No, my colleague were there, but I was in Madrid for another market.
So his movie is about the refugee crisis,
yeah.
And somebody was asking him, you know, how do we solve this? Because it's obvious, it's a global problem. You know, people are fleeing their countries because of war or famine or political injustice, and they're flooding other countries, and some countries are helping and some are not, and we continue to have these we have this tribalism sort of all over the world. And he said really the only solution is, first of all, how do you solve these problems that are causing these mass, you know, exoduses, and second of all, how do we move beyond thinking ourselves in terms of nations and more as human beings? You know, we need to think globally. So I do personally believe that we are always stronger together and less and shouldn't be isolated.
I think that inclusion is the only way for us.
With other people. I think you're always better as a team than a solo player. Always.
Our characters may not think so. I would say Ginger Rails does, but that's not my character. I'm Agent Whiskey's a solo sort of guy. I'd say I would guess that Hallie and I are into inclusion and working together.
We got to work together, man. Come on. You know, that's one of the things that I think is bringing, you know, the Statesman and the Kingsman together. You know, what's our difference? We both want to, you know, save the world, but that goes for all of us, not just the Kingsman and the Statesman. We all want to live in a beautiful place, you know, and for our children and so forth. You know, I often think, if we talk about allegories, I often think movies, you know, making movies is a great metaphor for how the world can work. And we have all these different talents and skills coming together, different opinions of how it should work out. We're all coming together to make something beautiful, make a beautiful movie, something that seems real and has value. And that's the way that we can all work together to make a beautiful existence and a planet to live on, not only for ourselves, but for our kids. You know, we got to be thinking that way. Right now it's getting pretty ridiculous. You know, there's the genre here is the, you know, spy thriller, but it also has a comedic, almost cartoon aspect to it. And the world seems kind of cartoonish now, doesn't it? If they made a movie about what if you saw a movie 10 years ago about what the world is like, you said, no, that couldn't be. So hopefully it will, the condition of things will inspire us as individuals to take some kind of appropriate action and come to the party. I notice in myself, the villain inside of me is cynicism. You know, just saying, oh, this is terrible, I got to throw up my hand. That's dangerous. That's what we got to really fight. We got to engage.
I think if you take that away from it, that can only be a really positive thing. I think it sounds cliched, but being stronger together is certainly something that I subscribe to. But
it's a very post-war idea, isn't it? I mean, you know, the European Union was formed after the war. NATO was formed after the war. I think as a result of world wars, 2 world wars that came within 30 years of each other, everybody thought the big was best. And what's happened ever since is everybody's seceding. You know, Scotland wants to leave the UK, Britain wants to leave and is leaving the European Union, America doesn't want to have its trade agreements with everybody in the way that they have been. You know, Catalonia's always wanted to secede from Spain. So it's strange. In the world, it seems that everybody's trying to kind of get away from those big things and have their individuality. So if that's reflected in the movie, that's probably why.